We're going to be talking today about the Jamestown colony, John Rolfe, and tobacco. Now, the Jamestown colony, up until about 1611, had been a huge disappointment. There was no gold that they could find, the settlers really struggled to survive, and the tobacco that they grew at that point didn't taste very good, and it wasn't popular at all when they tried to sell it in Europe. But something changed all of that. One ship, the Sea Venture, was to be carrying supplies from England to the new colony. Unfortunately, a storm blew it into Bermuda, and they had to stay there for a few months. When they were there, they built 2 new ships out of the wreckage, and they arrived at Jamestown. John Rolfe was one of the passengers on this boat, and he brought with him some tobacco seeds from Bermuda, and this changed Jamestown entirely. It had a very pleasant taste, and it was very popular. So Rolfe had early success growing and selling this, and more settlers wanted in on that success. So more and more people planted and grew more tobacco, and it vaulted Rolfe to a position of great importance in Virginia. When Delaware, who was the governor at the time, fell ill in 1611, Sir Thomas Dale replaced him as the governor of Jamestown, and Dale proposed rebuilding Jamestown. The town was improved and expanded, homes were built outside the original walls, and Dale recognized the limitations of that marshy peninsula, and he knew that the colony would need more space and better drinking water. He gave it some thought, and he believed that establishing new settlements up the James River would be a good idea. He believed this could provide enough land to satisfy wealthy investors and more growth opportunities for all these tobacco planters. The town of Henricus was then established in 1611 to provide such opportunities. John Rolfe moved into that new town in April of 1614 after marrying Pocahontas. This move gave Rolfe the opportunity to expand his tobacco plantation. The marriage also lessened the strain between Jamestown and the Powhatan, for a little time anyway. The founding of Henricus was part of a larger pattern of expansion and settlement, and this expansion was driven by the success of this new tobacco. Investors began to band together, and they created large tobacco-growing settlements called hundreds. Many hundreds sprang up along the James River and its tributaries, and each of those eventually grew into their own small town and city. By 1617, Virginia was exporting more than 20,000 pounds of this new Orinoco tobacco every single year. But this expansion brought the colonists into conflict with the Powhatan, and their uneasy truce soon erupted into violence. As Jamestown and other Virginia settlements grew in size and wealth, some of the colonists began to question their loyalty to England. So Thomas Dale set down a new collection of laws to address this issue in 1611. This very strict code required that all colonists must be loyal to King James of England, and anyone who broke that code would be punished harshly. Dale's laws did not stop Jamestown from forming their own local government, though. On July 30th, 1619, a legislature, a group of elected representatives, met in the Jamestown church to set the minimum price for tobacco at 3 shillings a pound. They also discussed other important matters. Eventually, this would turn into the Virginia General Assembly. Meanwhile, the need for labor increased as more hundreds were established and plantations grew in size. So in August of 1619, the very first enslaved Africans arrived at the Virginia colony. The year 1619 also saw the arrival of nearly 100 unmarried women from England. It was hoped that their presence would make the colony more stable and more settled. The growth and representative government and the success of the tobacco trade concerned the English crown. King James I feared losing control of the colony, so to prevent this from happening, he got rid of it entirely. He declared all of Virginia void in 1624, and it was made officially part of the Royal Empire the following year. The colonies were now under direct control of the British government. And that is what we're talking about with John Rolfe and tobacco and the success of the Virginia colony.